Hello everyone and welcome to my first AOC feedback video. This was our first 2021 meeting and there was a bunch of interesting topics that were brought up and the meeting went on for quite a long time, so I'm trying to keep this video quite short because I know that SyberBolt made a video and it was like pretty much like a podcast, so I will try keep mine short. Just so everyone knows who the representatives are and what platform everyone's from, so you can put future suggestions to them. You have me, Jamira's Play, Alive, and Hyuga, who are all community delegates, and we all play on the PC. SyberBolt is the PC, Libra's PS4, Sterile Tick is Xbox, and TaNaDisney is the Switch. So I will have all their Twitter handles in the description if you wanted to find them and you can put your suggestions towards them. I just want to also say in the little intro bit that I've never made a video like this before, so if I sound weird or if I say a lot, I'm trying to not. So anyways, the first person who spoke was Hyuga, and he wanted to make a bunch of changes to champions, actually champion talents, and suggested bringing back some old talents to replace them. The talents he spoke about was Drogos' Fusillade to be changed to Reign of Terror to maybe create a different kind of playstyle for Drogos. Zhin's Yomi, since it only, I guess, it only just gives you a damage buff, which some people don't really find worth compared to the other talents. I mean, even Smolder's kind of meh. I think Smolder needs to be changed as well, in my opinion. You got Genos' Luminary, Kinessa's Steady Aim. Hyuga wanted the Steady Aim to maybe be changed into a talent similar to Vivian's Booby Trap, so you can use her mines to have a playstyle around, I guess. Dredge to have his Scuttle changed to Freebooter with changes, and Freebooter, if anyone remembers, was an old talent of Dredge's where your teleporter meant that your allies could travel through them, but unfortunately I don't think it worked very well because sometimes you would accidentally go through them and it just wouldn't be good accidentally teleporting around the map, you know. So I think that wouldn't be a bad talent for Dredge, but I'm not sure how it would work. They would definitely need to implement some changes, but yeah, they're all the champions that Hyuga felt needed some changes. Hi-Rez did like a lot of his ideas and said that they're going to bring him to the team to talk about. However, they did mention that the most likely change that Hi-Rez will do is Genos' Luminary, because I don't think Hi-Rez particularly like damage buffs in the game, and they said that they really would have reworked his talent sooner, but unfortunately with a bunch of other stuff that's a higher priority than Genos' Luminary, they just gave him a simple 5% nerf to Luminary just to help with the game, I guess. He also brought up Io and Luna and asked if her previous nerfs could be reverted, such as like Luna being affected by Cauterize, buffing Luna's HP again, due to the fact that she can no longer capture the objective. Hi-Rez said that Io is doing pretty good across all levels in the game currently and are happy with where she is in terms of balance for now. She actually does have the third highest win rate in the game, I believe they said. So that's something to consider about Io. The idea of possibly taking on board one of Hyuga's suggestions was Luna being able to apply item buffs that Io has purchased, and Hi-Rez said that they really like that idea. So lastly, Androxus's ammo card was brought up by Hyuga, and he said it feels a little strong and it could do with a little tweaking, I guess. Hi-Rez said it's something that they would look into, but right now he's not a priority in terms of balance. So that was Hyuga's segment of the AOC. I did kind of go through it quite quickly, and I'm going to go through every other member's quite quickly except my own, since it's my video, and I feel like I need to explain reasons why I wanted my suggestions in the game. Whereas like I watched SyberBolt's video and he obviously doesn't know my reasonings for my balance changes, so I just want to explain why I decided to put these ones forward. So my suggestions was mainly about bugs, balance, and some general changes. The first thing I mentioned was about mapped ranked rotation. I said that sometimes it can feel like the good maps get locked out and the bad maps stay in. Currently, there's 4 map bans each split, and I suggested that we reduce it down to 2 so we can still get to play on the majority of the maps available. Iris commented and said that the map bans are about replayability and getting excited for when your favorite map comes back in rotation. I don't know if I particularly agree with their reasoning for this many map bans, but whatever. They did say though that they probably will look into reducing the map bans from 4 to 2 if it's something that we want. It's something I want. So, and if I want it, other people want it. I mean, people on my Discord have said that they want it. Z1 wants it. So, we'll see. Okay, so the next suggestion I brought up was a third ban in ranked as well. And Hi-Rez also agreed with this very much. And they said that it's something that they are very likely to do. And it's not really a matter of if they'll do it, it's when they'll do it. So it kind of makes sense to have more bans if there's going to be more champions. Adding a cheating option for reporting players at the end of the game was another suggestion that I brought up, and they agreed that it is something that they're going to bring up to the team and discuss and probably implement into the game, which I think they should personally, because at the moment there is no option to report a cheater. I know SyberBolt also put forward a suggestion of reporting a match if maybe there was like server issues or whatever issues with the game itself, then that way the Hi-Rez have like a match ID along with some like comments within game that might make it easier for them to catch cheaters or fix issues that might occur. Another thing I brought up was sometimes certain champions make noises in the draft that cannot be turned off or turned down. Hi-Rez said that they might be able to add that audio track to the same one as the champion music, such as Rave Mave, so you can control the volume or turn it off at least, which would be more of like a quality of life change. That would be nice. I also brought up a bunch of bugs that I found in the game, such as Charlene's Desert Silent talent only silencing for 1.5 seconds and not 2. They said that they'll look into all of the bugs that I told them about. And just want to add a little apology note here. Sorry to Barik players, including myself, because I do like to play Barik, but I had to bring up Field Deploy because it's currently not working as intended. It's actually proccing through shields and on deployables, and it also procs through a terminus that has a siphon up, which is giving him a lot of HP and survivability in the game. So rip Barik if they go through with this HP nerf as well. Quite a big change I suggested to them as well was I believe that all weapon attacks in the game should have like item buffs such as Cauterize and Wrecker. They said that it's something that they could be on board with, but because it's such a huge change, they would probably really need to like consider and think about how best to implement it. But I personally think it should be because, for example, you got talents like Dredge's Hurl, which is based around just using your harpoon, and that obviously doesn't apply any item buffs. So if you're going against a team comp that is kind of really strong on the shields or the supports, then you're gonna not feel as impactful as you would if you was to go the other talents. So this is just something that I believe should be implemented personally. Another little change was to remove the damage numbers above invisible champions. Basically, they said that it's intentional the way it works because it's a way to counter invisible champions, even though we do have Illuminate in game. I think lower level players like have a hard time with invisible champions, so it would be kind of wrong to remove this mechanic because lower level champions would be probably overwhelmed with the invisible champions such as Sky and Charlene and Strix. So I kind of see where they're coming from. It's okay. So that won't be anything that they're going to consider, to be honest. Then I suggested some champion balance, starting with Zhin's Guillotine. due to there not being anything to counter it other than maybe IO healing you with the DR possibly, or your team absolutely bursting the Zhin. But usually Zhin ults people that are slightly out of position, maybe behind walls or whatever. So it's just that currently there's very hard to counter Zhin's ult. I would say about 9 times out of 10 a Zhin does get away with the ult. He might die like as soon as he's finished, but usually he gets the kill. They said that they want the talent to be able to hard counter one individual, which I agree with as well, but they're thinking of removing the 15% ult charge that is included with the talent. I also brought up that Cassie's ultimate should be affected by resilience. Personally, this was more of like a quick kind of thing. It's more of like me not really thoroughly thinking through the best possible solution. And to be honest, this is my first meeting, so I didn't really know how easy or not easy certain things was to implement into the game. So that's why I just chose this scene, as I thought it would be kind of easy to implement. But I understand where they're coming from with this, because they said that CC reveals are not CC, which I do agree with there. And also, my main issue with the reveals in the game is primarily Cassie. So I just think it is a bit strong. Not much counterability to it. I don't like things that you can't counter. But they said that possible change would be to maybe reduce the duration of Cassie's scout. Another little change that I suggested, which I think they're probably going to go with the duration of, but the one I suggested was maybe make it act like Maeve's ult. So you only get revealed if you are in X amount of radius to Cassie, and then if Cassie dies, the ult disappears just like Maeve. But it's all things to consider. I did bring up Lian's eminence bug, and they said that they have been trying to find what the issue with it is, but currently have no luck in trying to resolve the bug. I said that it should probably just do a flat amount, more than 800 but less than 1200, meet in the middle somewhere. So it would be kind of like a nerf and a buff to her at the same time, but it would eliminate the bug. They said that they would much rather try to fix the bug than to make a change like that, so hopefully they can fix it. Another change that I wanted for Lian is change the inheritance card, which gives you cooldowns on limbs, to be on killing blows rather than eliminations. They said that Lian is meant to have her power moments and feel impactful in the game, but they can agree that she does proc that card a lot just because of the amount of random damage she does with her auto-aim abilities. I know a lot of people really hate Lian's auto-aim abilities, but it really doesn't do too much damage. It's just, it can be kind of frustrating to randomly get killed by a Lian that just randomly graced across the map, because it has some good range on them abilities, personally. They said that they can see this card maybe being changed to that eventually. So the next one is purely based on people's feedback on Evie. I'm not a good Evie player. I don't particularly play her much because I'm just not good with her. She's not my kind of champion. But maybe buffing her HP or including the card Flicker into her base kit. Now, Iris said that Evie is meant to be a champion that is good at high level play, and they don't necessarily really want her to be too strong, because good players can really absolutely destroy a team, aka Uber's Evie. I went against that not too long ago and it actually made me cry. Yep. But Iris do not want to buff Evie anytime soon, unfortunately. I brought up buffing Furia's Cherish, which my reasoning behind this was last year, March 2020, a bunch of the supports got nerfs. Furia's Cherish was 25% of your allies missing HP. They nerfed it down to 15, and recently they have been slowly buffing the supports. Meldamba got a buff, Ceres got a buff. The reason why they said that these champions got buffs was because people wasn't playing them enough. But personally, I find that Furia, she still does do well, but it's so hard. It makes me think, why would I pick Furia when I could just pick Ceres, which is a lot easier, you get more value. In terms of like, do I want to win or do I want to have fun? I think is between them two champions. They said that Furia is in a good spot at the moment and they don't really have any plans to change it right now, but maybe in the future, because right now I believe if you have a teammate, maybe like a damage that has 2200 HP and you heal them with Cherish, you're only healing them for about 475 HP with Cherish, which is not a lot late game, especially because Furia can only heal one person at a time, whereas if you look at Maldamva and Ceres, they can heal multiple people at the same time. So I think just a small buff would be nice, but they don't want to do anything right now. Another change that I brought up was Fernando. Personally, I don't like Fernando. Not like Fernando. Personally, I don't play Fernando. So this is all based on other people's feedback that they gave me, but they want to make Scorch viable again. So people can play him as an off-tank rather than just a little shieldy bot. However, Hyriz said that Flank Nando was a problem because he was very strong. They said that people obviously had fun playing him, but the reason they had fun playing him is because he was so strong and powerful. And Hyriz said that they're kind of happy with where all the off-tanks are sitting right now, because off-tanks at one point in the game were very, 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 very strong. They don't necessarily want to make tanks as strong as they once were. However, they did say that his Fireball should apply item buffs, which is what I suggested to them, kind of similar to my first point of all weapon attack should, but I definitely think Fernando's Fireball should 100%, and they agree with me on that. Like, it probably is something that they would consider. So another suggestion that I put towards them that I know based on SyberBolt's video and his feedback is the VGS. I want them to add the removed VGS voice lines back to the game, because I'm not gonna lie, the VGS is a culture in Paladins. It's something that I use every single game. I love it. I know everyone else loves it. It's funny, it creates an atmosphere, it helps make friends, and it's just something that has just really not sat well with me since they removed it from the game. Well, certain voice lines such as like please and quiet and I'll capture the objective, or I'll capture the objective. They removed that one as well. All we have is capture the objective or I'll attack up the middle. Yes, so I really would like them to add it back. They said that it's not really something that they're keen on doing, because the reason they changed it was to make it much easier to use. But personally, I find that everyone seemed to use the VGS perfectly fine. If you were new to the game, sure, you're not going to be able to use it straight away, but you will learn. I learned to use the VGS, everyone else learned to use the VGS, and it's like a second language to me. Like, I know the VGS commands off by heart. I even still know the old ones. Like, I just really want them to add it back, and I think with the response from the community based on SyberBolt's video is that they're probably very likely to maybe consider it at least, because it is such a thing that makes Paladins Paladins. Lastly, Grover's Vine attaching to teammates is something that I hate in the game. It's something that the devs also agree that it's hated in the game as well, so I believe that they're going to remove that happening. I can't stand it when it happens to me, so okay, and then that's literally everything from my section. I thought I'd go into my section in a lot more detail than others might go into my sections, but yes, there you go. So next we had Alive. Alive wanted to discuss ranked queues and custom games. He brought up the idea of maybe having 2 separate ranked queues to help with the issue of low ranks being matched against high ranks. Hyriz simply said that unfortunately this kind of system wouldn't work in Paladins due to the majority of the player base being gold or platinum rank. So no matter what, players on the low end of the spectrum and the high end of the spectrum of ranked would always kind of get the worst end of the stick here. So this is most likely down to the fact that there isn't as many players in these ranks compared to the middle rank. So the chance of getting a team full of your rank, like, you know, a team full of masters or a team full of bronze, is quite low in reality. Hyres did mention that there are some improvements that could be made to the ranked system though. Fully customizable custom games, such as being able to select the same champion on the same team, starting with the game with like 10k credits and item buffs, just to allow players to have some fun and get some new variety in the game. Hi-Res said that they love this idea and fully support it, but when this kind of change can be added to the game is just unknown, unfortunately. And that was pretty much basically a live segment summarized. Next we have Sterile Tick. His main points were about bad or disliked champion talents that his community thinks need some change. To list a few, he mentioned Resonance Ying, Solar Blessing Furia, Over the Moon Evie, Unstable Fisher, Atlas, and Luminary Genos. To summarize what Hi-Rez said about all these changes, they were said that some of them could be looked at. I think they said the most likely one obviously is the Genos Luminary rework. They also said that if they was to change anything about Evie, which they probably won't because they're kind of happy where she is, but yeah, if they was, it would be Over the Moon Evie that they would look at. They also said that just because a talent isn't meta doesn't mean that it needs to be changed. Just because, you know, it might be considered a throw pick. For example, like Solar Blessing Furia. Sure, it doesn't always work, but people enjoy playing it, especially in casuals. And Hi-Rez doesn't want to reinforce that, like, you need to play this, you need to play that. So they like the different playstyles that you can have with each champion. Next was Jameera's play. His main topics were monetization, custom games, and ping. He brought up the idea of having a Paladins member program where you could pay a monthly subscription that would include content and other rewards. Hyres said that this idea is kind of already similar to what they have currently in game with the Season Pass DLC, but maybe they need to look at it and see if there's anything that they can change to maybe encourage people to buy it or feel like it's actually worth it. More customizable custom games. Obviously that was mentioned before by another AOC member, but Hyres said yep, they would love to do it, but at the moment it's not top priority and there would be a lot of work to do something like this. So just something, I guess, for the future, maybe one day. Jameera's also thought that it would be nice to have a visible display of your ping before selecting the server region, due to a lot of people just being able to select multiple regions in Paladins and still get the similar ping. But not sure how easy that would be to implement in this game, or even if it would be possible. And lastly, he spoke about Grok's Spirit Domain. He said it needs a buff, but Hyres actually said that Grok does very well across all levels, and he overperforms from community perception, even at high ranks. So that's something to consider. Grok has a high win rate. Next was TaNaDisney, or Lara. She had quality of life suggestions and general user face feedback. Since she is also the Switch representative, a lot of her suggestions were Switch related. She brought up the suggestion of having a chat option for the Switch version of Paladins. Hyres said there is likely a reason for why there isn't, but it wasn't disclosed to us. Lara also asked if we could have a more in-depth stats about our Paladins gameplay similar to Paladins Guru. Hyres said they loved this idea and would like it very much if we did have something like this in game, but again, not the easiest thing to do in the world. So improving the training range, adding a tutorial to the Switch, even because there isn't even a tutorial on the Switch, and also maybe having a disconnected symbol next to a player's name if they DC'd in game, and maybe having a system to push players to choose a suitable talent for each champion were also a bunch of suggestions she brought up. Hyres said that some of her suggestions was nice and would be nice in the game, such as reworking the tutorial and adding new stuff to the training range. They did say that they're not currently happy with the tutorial, but it's not top priority right now. They commented that if your team does know if someone's disconnected in game, it generally does nothing but maybe upset your team and let them know that they're actually at a disadvantage, so the morale would probably go down if that was the case. So this suggestion is unlikely to be added to the game. and having a system to tell players what talent to play isn't something they particularly liked either. They said they don't want to reinforce the mindset that there's only one way to play this game, because there is like multiple ways to play the same champion, lots of replayability. Last on Lara's suggestions was to increase the level requirement for ranked. I also liked this suggestion a lot personally, but maybe for a different reasoning, because obviously cheaters can create an account, they can play the account for like 1 day or 2 days, unlock ranked, and then they can go ahead and just either ruin people's ranked games or stomp and get a stupid rank that's not even feasible. And also you got Smurfs as well. This was an interesting topic, but Hi-Rez said fundamentally increasing the requirements for ranked actually hurts the matchmaking and the ranked experience. They said that unfortunately the higher the barrier, the harder it is for players to get good matches, since there are less available for the pool. After about level 15, you should have a pretty good understanding of the game, and if you obviously play well, you will rank up. And that was pretty much all of that for TaNaDisney. Lastly, we have SyberBolt. So SyberBolt primarily spoke about the user interface, such as the main menu and the user experience. I believe he did a survey for his community and brought the ideas back to Hi-Rez. His main points were the main screen has lots of empty space, it kind of looks gloomy, inconsistent themes, small buttons, overcomplicated navigation menus to where you want to get to on the home screen. Hi-Rez essentially said that these are issues that they are aware of, that the UI team also share these concerns and complaints about the main menu in Paladins, and agree with SyberBolt. But there is only one person that works on the UI, so that is probably why these kind of things don't get changed too often, because it is just one person doing this job, which, I mean, props to them. That's not an easy thing to do on your own. He also had some other little suggestions, such as being able to toggle the death card so you cannot see the death card, because there's a death card in the game that I think shouldn't be in the game, but you know, we won't talk about that. Also being able to report the game, like server issues, like I mentioned earlier in this video, like my suggestion, being able to report players for cheating. Cyber would like an option to report the game if it was maybe laggy or a bit glitchy, or something weird happened, like if the game crashed. So that would just be a good way for Hi-Rez to zone in on these matches and get the match ID and then see what went wrong. Hi-Rez agreed to pretty much everything that SyberBolt said, and said that they will investigate it. They loved the idea of being able to report a match if the server had issues, so that is very good news, I think. And basically, that was the meeting. I will have a document of everyone's topic in much more depth if you wanted to see everyone's like key points. It will be in the description. And yes, so I hope this video wasn't too long and you got what you wanted to hear from this video as well. I'm sorry I didn't go in much detail about others' suggestions, but like I said, I wanted this video to be mainly about my stuff, but I still did want to inform you guys about what was said in the whole meeting. So everything is in the description. If you wanted to join my Discord, where I have an AOC suggestion channel, you're more than welcome to. Again, it will be in the description. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope you all have a lovely day.